How's it going, Mr. Lindstrom? Today we're going over lesson 4.5, or the loanable funds market. So as you can see here, we've got the loanable funds market, which is basically just, it's the relationship between interest rates and the quantity of loans. So you've got your supply, which is basically saying at more quantity or at higher interest rates, they're going to lend out more money. And demand, it's basically stating the inverse, which is at a lower interest rate, they're going to want more, and at a higher interest rate, they're going to want less. So let's talk about the supply shifters. So we've got private saving, public saving, and national saving, which are pretty much all self-explanatory. They all talk about how whether a company or let's talk about private saving first. So private saving refers to us as people. So if we're saving more, that's going to increase supply. If we're saving less, we're going to decrease the supply. Public saving is the same thing, but it just applies to the government. If the government is saving more or saving less, it's going to change the supply. National saving is just public saving plus private saving to determine how much we nationally have saved. Now, capital inflow, capital outflow, and net inflow all apply to foreign investment. They all apply to whether foreign companies are investing in our country. So capital inflow is just money that is entering our country. So if we have a lot of capital inflow, that should means it's going to increase our supply. If there's capital outflow, which is money that's leaving the country, that's going to decrease our supply. And then net inflow is just our capital inflow minus our capital outflow to determine how much we're going to have. Now let's talk about the demand shifters. So first is going to be changes in borrowing by consumers. If we as consumers want to borrow more, it's going to increase our demand. And the second one is changes in borrowing by businesses. It's essentially the same thing. If businesses want to borrow more, it's going to increase the demand. And then changes in borrowing by government is still the same thing. If they want to borrow more, then they're going to essentially increase the demand. So let's say, for example, we've got deficit spending. So let's go up here. So deficit spending refers to demand. And when we look at deficit spending, we realize that deficit spending increases our demand, right? So let's say, okay, the government, they increase deficit spending, which is going to shift our demand to the right, as seen here, which is going to do our new equilibrium. So we're going to have Q2, which is an increase in quantity, and a I2, which is an increase in interest rates. So now let's go over to the FAQ. So first question here, we've got draw a correctly labeled graph of the loanable funds market for country X. So right here, we have the correctly labeled graph. We have our interest rates, quantity of loans, supply, demand, and our 2 points that are plotted out. Our second question says, assume that the government of country X now increases its spending while holding taxes constant. Assume that the government funds the increase in spending with increased borrowing. Okay, so if they are increasing borrowing, that's just, as we stated right here, that is a shifter of demand. So we're going to shift our demand to the right. D1. Our new points, QF2 and R2. It states, what will the impact of this policy on the government's budget balance? The budget balance is pretty much, it's going to increase because we know that since the government increases spending but keeps taxes constant, it will move from a balanced budget to a budget deficit. To finance it, they have to borrow more, which is increased demands. Then we've got which is pretty much just asking us, show the impact of this on the graph, which we pretty much did. We shifted demand to the right. We got our new equilibrium points. And yeah, that is the loanable funds market.